Hi everyone, let's talk about Gaia Project. So just to start off, if you came here for a comparison between this and Terra Mystica, I am the wrong person for that. I can only really talk about Gaia Project. I played Terra Mystica once, I think it was more than 2 years ago, and I don't remember a lot about it. Some of it was brought back through playing this, or maybe seeing other people's impressions of this, where they did talk about this in Terra Mystica. And I will say briefly that in Terra Mystica, I remember one of the things I didn't like about it was kind of the feeling of being blocked in, and I wasn't being blocked in. There was, there's a lot of adjacency things that are similar in this, but much improved, I think, where players could just get cut off, and a huge bonus towards the end of the game was to do with how many things you had built contiguously. And I just remember towards the end of that, well, I think it was the last turn of that game, the other people I was playing with had worked out that, okay, well, I'm in the lead at the moment, but the person in second place is about to link these two things and run away with it. So I could, whatever I put in this gap in between us will cut us off forever and I will win the game. And I really didn't like that kind of decision that, oh, well, it's all just come to this. Anyway, that's just completely as an aside. So yeah, don't look for comparisons between this and Terra Mystica because I can only really talk about this. And there is a lot to like about this. I like the space theme more than the kind of strange pseudo fantasy thing of Terra Mystica. Even though this is, it might as well be a lot of things. It is, just as far as I can see, made up terms and things. They may well relate to real things, but they may as well be made up for all we were bothered about them. It didn't really matter. I've got the German version as well, so I know that some race names are a bit different to what is in this box, and none of that really bothers me either. It's just okay. We will just go on with the mad androids. They shouldn't have changed that name. That's a fantastic name. They should have kept that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's definitely quite a heavy game, and there is a lot to take in up front as well in the rules that are kind of it's not full of little conditional cases, but there are definitely a lot of steps to think of, and it's not really explained to you in like the player aid. I showed it in the playthrough. I think it's just a little card with kind of symbols representing 8 different actions. Now there are a couple of things that you can do that aren't on that player aid, and it kind of relies on you remembering, the steps and things where not every game needs a Lisboa style, 8-page menu or whatever it was in there. Although that was fantastic to have, I think it needs much more of a player aid than it has got. Because, as I said, it's not complex. It's not really convoluted about how it goes through these things, but sometimes there are, little conditions that you need to remember, and it is a lot of it is spelled out kind of in places, like there may be a little reminder on the research board about the cost to go up in the research, or there's some things on your player board kind of trying to remind you that the Gaia planets don't need terraforming, they need the cube and things. But it would be nice to just have it in one space rather than something that I feel like it's probably been done, as a lot of these things have been, for language independence, to keep it so that, okay, the player aid is just a card with some symbols on it, so that will work in every language. And it's good for that point, but on the downside, like a lot of games like that, it suffers that, okay, well, I have to keep translating that, at least in the beginning, in your first few games, I have to keep translating these symbols back into, okay, what does that mean? What do I have to do for that? What was the condition that I need to fulfill for this? What were the actual steps to do this action? I feel like a bit more of a player aid would have worked wonders. Where it's got one for the solo mode as well. It's got a reference sheet, an A4 double-sided reference sheet that gives you the quick rundown on the solo version. It would have been nice if they'd just put one of those in for that anyway. But I'm just talking about players and learning it. So yeah, it's a little complex up front, and it's definitely a very heavy game when you are playing it. But it's one of those games where there are a lot of ways to get what you want. It is a bit vague not vague. It's quite sandboxy, even though it has got aims for each round. It's got, you can get bonus points from doing these things. They are not really necessary to do those things, and a lot of the interactions, say in something like Founders of Gloomhaven, where a lot of your path will kind of be dictated by what other players did as well as what you want to do. They are not necessarily going for overarching goals. Whereas in this, I do like that they have added end game bonuses that we can track people's progression on as well. You can see how far everyone is along on that. It's not just, some hidden thing. So, get the most different colored planets or be on the most Gaia planets and stuff. It's nice that there's something else to shoot for, but obviously you'll get nowhere if that's all you do. It's only 18 points out of many that you'll need to accrue over the course of the game. I like that the research tracks all kind of, well, not all of them, some of them just get you resources, or some of them just get you the QIC cubes, but a lot of them kind of relate to things in the game. So if you really want to go for terraforming, you can go up this track, and each terraforming step is cheaper now, and you can have some more along the way in between the steps, which will help you along with the terraforming. When you do it, you can increase your range, so you can get to further away planets without having to waste the QIC cubes. You can get more income. You can get one that brings you up that can get more knowledge, which will then help you go up in all the other tracks itself. There are so many different ways to go about getting what you want, once you have actually figured it out, which can be a bit of a thing, especially again in your first few games. It can kind of leave you, high and dry in the start of like, well, what do I do? The answer is just to start doing something, start working towards it. Maybe take what the goal is for this first round and try and do that if you can, and then kind of work off. This is the goal for round 2. What have I already got out there? And then kind of go from it. There won't be, a definite thing that everyone is trying to work through. Everyone will be going in their own different directions, which is a real positive for it. The different races have different terraforming costs, so there will be competition over different planets. You might both have quite similar costs and both be vying for the same things, or the really expensive ones that you need to get on because you want to be on the most different planets for some reason. The other person has that's their home planet, so they can move there for free. So do I need to go there now? So they aren't, that's the last planet I need to get the right size for a federation. So do I jump on that now and pay a ridiculous amount of ore for terraforming, but they're going to get there for free? There's a lot of different strategies and a lot of thought that goes into every move in there as well. It's definitely, as I said, it's a heavy game, and it's one that, a lot of it was played, in silence, just trying to work out, I need to get this thing done. Surely there is a way. And usually there is. Usually there is kind of, a roundabout way of, okay, if I use the power to get this, that will get me the ore to do this, and then I can convert this into this. All of those free actions that you can do, mainly relating to power, but you can also convert ore into, you convert a lot of things into money, because you are losing out, because money's a lot easier to get than all of the other stuff. There's usually a nice, satisfying, puzzly way of working out what you want to do. It just may take some time and definitely a lot of mental strain to get there. Now, this was, I'm sure, true for Terra Mystica as well, but the amount of races in this is really nice. There's quite a lot in there, all of them double-sided, and all feeling quite different, giving you kind of, some get an advantage at the start, like one race gets to put 3 mines out instead of 2 at the beginning of the game. A lot of races will start with a leg up on one certain research track that might give you a bit of a way forward, but the powers as well. There is one that can spend money instead of power to do the free actions. There is one that gets knowledge whenever they go onto a new type of planet. There are very, very different things involved in there. The one that I had in the playthrough where your rewards are swapped. So for getting the trading stations out, you get knowledge rather than money that you would usually get, and your upgrade path is completely different to everyone else in the game. There is that's another thing to help you with your strategy as well, and it's just nice to have all of that variation just built in there as well. And obviously as well as them being different in themselves, the interactions between them when you have different people playing certain combinations will lead to a really, really different game. So the solo mode. I was really, really pleased. I didn't know until I looked at the back of the box in Essen that the solo mode is... The box is kind of falling apart because there's so much stuff in this. The solo mode is from Automa Factory, which is a group that has previously done Stonemaier games. They have done Viticulture, Between Two Cities, Charterstone they do the solo mode for. I'm missing something important now, I feel. They did one for Hostage Negotiator, which I haven't played yet, but now it's always been, their aim to branch out and do more things for other companies. They have done the solo mode for this, which is surely a very big deal for them, and I was really pleased to see it as well. It was a nice surprise for me. I have to say, Scythe, they did Scythe, like a lot of their solo modes, probably most similar to Scythe. There is, a deck of cards that is, at first very very strange, but once you've read through the rules and gotten a couple of turns in, it's such a simple system. To the that you translate all of these cards to. You only need to know this middle. You put two cards together, and you only need to look at this middle bit that they are forming, and they give you as inside, they give you an AI player that doesn't simulate an actual player. They obviously sometimes they get to cheat and do things do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do. They don't have to pay things usually, and they are perfect for kind of getting in your way and giving you something to compete with as well. They're going up those endgame goal tracks. Sometimes they specifically take those endgame goals into consideration when they're doing things. They are trying to build as close to you as possible a lot of the time to surely get in your way. But on the other hand, that gives you neighboring bonuses. They can't simulate a player in that you can see with a player that that player's got no ore left. They are not going to be building there, so I can wait to build in that planet this round. I'm going to be the first player next round. I'm hopefully going to be the first player, so I can do it next round, or I can at least wait a few turns and get myself in the perfect position to build on that planet because I can see they've got no resources, or we're all going for Gaia planets. I can see none of you have got QIC cubes left, so as the only person with them, and none of you got any power, I can see you've got no way of getting them. As the only person with them, I can afford to wait a little bit for that. You can't do that with the AI player because they don't spend resources. So they are always unpredictable in that way, which is a good thing as well. It doesn't come off as, cheap randomness. It's something where, you just can't have that perfect information that you would have. You don't have perfect information. It's leaving you a little bit more in the dark than it would be with a normal player. But so many times, and sometimes they're okay, but so many times solo modes are just play the exact same game and beat your own score. Some do interesting things with that, like Feast for Odin had a couple of interesting quirks in the solo mode, but it is just beat your own score. It is really nice, and Ultima Factory are so good for doing that, where it's not beat your own score. It's not simulating the normal game for you, but the AI player in itself is so interesting. I love the way that they have a standard deck. And they start off with six standard cards that they'll always start off with, depending on your difficulty. And they get a random card from this deck, and every round they get another card. So you can kind of start to get up the idea of, this game, the Ultima is really going for research, and they're really racing up these tracks, or they are building like crazy this game. But depending on what has come out of that random card that's come out at the end of every round, they can suddenly take a different turn because they might not get to play all of their cards, and or certain cards might suddenly things come out in a different order, and suddenly their range is boosted massively. So normally all of the 2 ranges have come out and they've been really constrained. Now they're suddenly spreading out like crazy, and it's and that's going to be very different game to game as well. I love that. As with Scythe, there are difficulty modes with this, and they are directly tied to those cards as well. It's if you want to play on the easiest mode, take one of those 6 basic cards out, but there are specific cards that you can put in to make it harder and harder, because the Ultima is going to have more turns per round because they don't pass until they've gotten to a certain point in their deck, and they are going to get to do more varied things as well. Those cards have been deliberately chosen. It's not just shuffle an extra card in there. I assume that they are doing specific things that they wanted to do that will make the game harder for you, because I've played it on normal and won, so it's probably time to step it up. But yeah, I do fear what the Ultima will do if it was any powerful. It definitely feels like I am up against a challenge. It's not felt really like a cakewalk, and I really enjoyed it for that. It's I don't think I've played a solo mode by Ultima Factory where I've ever been disappointed. It's always been a really, really nice experience. But the more that they get into this, as I said, with Scythe and with these Ultima players, the ones in Between Two Cities are really nice as well. They build their Ultima city in a different way to how you would build your city. But this isn't an Ultima Factory video. This is a Gaia Project video. But yeah, the solo mode is absolutely fantastic. I will say that I don't really play solo as much as I used to. Definitely, when I started this channel, I used to do mostly solo videos, kind of because not many people did solo videos for the particular games that I was doing, and I was playing a lot of that before I started doing videos. But to be honest, a lot of the time I used to spend playing solo games is spent making these videos. I could be playing a solo game right now. I'm making this, but yeah. So it's not as big a thing for me as it used to be. I would still perfectly be happy playing solo games. I just don't have as much time as I used to for it. So I really appreciate when solo modes are there though, and when, like with Gaia Project, a lot of thought has been put into making it a really interesting and unique experience as well. To the point where, yeah, I could see this being a game, that you just pulled out solo. So we played this. I tried playing this for the first time with Rachel, and as I said, it is one of those open games where it is giving you more direction than a lot of those games that we've played. It is giving you goals per round that can give you some extra points, and it's got those end game bonuses. But it does still feel like you are kind of in the dark and, let's just try something, and then strategy will evolve once we have just started doing things. Once you just get started, the things start to slot into place and you see your plan forming in front of you. But yeah, Rachel does not like those games at all. They're not my favourite, but I still, I don't mind them that much. Rachel really doesn't like that feeling of just, what do? I really can't see this turning into anything. And yeah, it really, really didn't work for her, and she did not want to finish out the game of it. I have played it, since with that, and as I said, it's one of those games where there is so much silence, but not frustrated, just desperately like, I know there is a way around this. I know there is a way to something. It's a really nice, satisfying puzzle. So I think for me, I'm kind of in two minds at the moment. As I said, I love that solo mode so much. And yeah, I'm tempted to just keep playing it solo whenever I would get the time. As I said, that time doesn't come very often anymore. But with Rachel absolutely not being on board, hello Marty, with Rachel absolutely not being on board, I don't know how much it would get played for me. Yeah, so I think it's a really, really great game. I don't know where I'm going to stand on it ultimately, of just how much I think I'm going to get it played, because it's expensive and it is a big box. But this box is, as you can see, that it is falling apart. As I try and stand it up here, there is a ton in here, and a lot of it will make a lot of difference game to game. There is a lot of content in the box, and if you like the concept to begin with, if you got the idea from the playthrough that you would like this game, there is going to be a ton to get in here. And as well, I doubt in the playthrough that I did that I am really, leveraging the strategies as much as I can. I am still, very much in the, I'm very much exploring and just being, okay, well, this seems like a good idea, I'll just do that. Rather than, I know that this ties in with this really nicely, and based on the way these have come out, I should be doing this. That will all evolve over time. I feel like it is one of those games where you need to have those initial plays to even start to get a grasp on it. And that is a little bit of a downside for me as well, just because the situation that I'm in, I don't get to get back to games that many times. So yeah, I don't feel that I would get for a long, long time, I would really start to dig into this. But I definitely enjoyed it. As I said, it's complicated, it's heavy, but once you have kind of tapped into the essence of it, it is very, very rewarding. It's still not a struggle, it's still a really, a really thinky, brain-straining puzzle, but a very, very satisfying one. It doesn't feel like you progress very much. It does feel like, you're growing out on the board. But I will say that it does feel like, and maybe this is down to me not having great strategies still, but it did feel like progression is very, very slow in it. And the way, I do love the way, games have done it since. I think Terra Mystica was the big game that did it, where you have all the things on your player board and you're putting the things out onto the main board. And once you do, Marty right in the way there, once you do get all of this stuff out, it's, what can I do? Once you get all of this stuff out, it's giving you more bonuses. The more mines that you get out in this, the more ore you're going to earn is your income every round. And then once you get the trading stations out, okay, now you're making money, but you're not making the ore again. It's a nice, it's a nice seesaw thing of, okay, now I'm getting this, but I've lost this. But at the same time as doing that, it feels like we are being held back quite a lot. Not that one player is suddenly accelerating. We did think that in the first two-player game, that well, not the first one, the actual the full 2-player game that I played. We're thinking that, yeah, it doesn't feel like for round 4 or 5 now. It feels like we're still kind of struggling to get going. As I said, that may be just because I'm still very inexperienced with the game, and it's got depths that I still haven't seen yet. I can completely imagine that being the case with Gaia Project. But yeah, it feels like you don't really get that much stronger as the game goes on. Your research does, so your terraforming costs will be dropped and things, and your range, you'll suddenly be able to shoot out across the stars, or maybe you can Gaia form loads now because it's going to cost you less of your power discs to be able to do that. But I think I've kind of lost the thread and lost the plot a little bit. Really enjoyed this. Really, really loved the solo mode. And yeah, just in solo, you haven't got that guilt of, oh, I'm holding people up. Even though both of us were kind of taking time and really trying to think of what to do, in solo, you haven't really got that. You've got a big freedom to just think, oh, I'm going to take my time with this. So yeah, really, really enjoyed the solo mode. I think there's a lot of depth to this. I wonder with it's a long game, it's a heavy game and a complex game. I wonder how much I am going to be able to dig into this myself. That's the only thing that I'm really thinking about. There has been no big turn off to the game itself. I have really enjoyed it, but the playthrough is what you should decide on, really, not what I think. It doesn't matter what I think, does it? Does it? Maybe it really matters. Maybe I'm the only opinion that matters. But let's go off the basis that it doesn't matter. So that is Gaia Project. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.